Welcome back to the full story series right here at Comicstorian. This is your home for audio dramas of your favorite comic books. We take some of your favorite storylines and tell you what happens in them, allowing you to keep up while you get on with your busy life. Now, a lot of times we put out individual issues or 1 to 3 issues of a storyline, trying to fill you in on what's happening as it's happening, which means eventually the story does wrap up and we've got a bunch of videos that tell the full story. So we take all of those videos and turn them into one giant video for you to enjoy. Today is going to be issues 1 through 3 of DCeased Unkillables, the story of what Red Hood, Deathstroke, and the others were doing during the DCeased event. And the DCeased event is anti-life zombies have taken over the planet. I think that's all the intro you need. Let's get into the story, and I hope you enjoy. The motorcycle slows to a stop, and Deathstroke looks up at the large house. He didn't like Kentucky, but $9 million is $9 million. Someone was burning down churches, and someone else didn't like it very much. Pulling free his sword, he walks calmly up the front door and he rings the doorbell with the tip of the deadly steel. This was day 1 of the anti-life virus being set forth onto the world. A 3rd-floor window shatters as a man sails through it, landing hard on the ground, his legs broken. Yet he still tries to run. Deathstroke pulls his pistol, killing the man with a single round to the head, finding it odd that he has seen people running, but not typically on shattered legs. The door behind him bursts open as people try to run away, so Deathstroke swings his blade, cutting one, and then he stops, because he realizes those people aren't running from him. He turns back to the house, hearing the first growls from within, and the zombies begin to rush him, so he moves inhumanly fast, his blade cutting through their soft flesh. He spins, firing his pistol as the sword swings, and as more zombies fall, Slade decides that it's time to renegotiate his contract. He pulls out his phone, ready to call up the individual who gave him the mission, and he stares at the red glow of the screen. Suddenly, like many others, he feels it inside of his mind and he drops to his knees, screaming and tearing at his face. This virus is sent across screens, and once you see it, you can't stop it. "It's in my face!" he screams out, and everything goes black. The blackness gives way to red, and Slade looks down at his hands around a man's throat as he pleads for his life. Suddenly, Slade is back to normal, and he looks around at the destruction all around him. The creatures are attacking the city. It is now day 2 of the anti-life virus. Meanwhile, deep beneath Wayne Manor, Jason Todd steps through the Batcave, calling out to Alfred or Bruce. He stops, pulling free, looking down at the puddle of blood that he stepped in. Oh no. He finds the bodies of Bruce Wayne, Dick Grayson, and Tim Drake, laying on the Batcave floor. "I thought you of all people," he whispers to himself, and a growling comes from deep within the cave. Jason turns, pulling free his pistols, but Ace the Bat Dog steps out of the shadows, still growling. Jason steps forward, letting the dog sniff him as he pulls him in for a hug. "I know, boy. Don't worry. I'm not gonna leave them like this. It's okay," he tells him. Jason takes the time to bury all 3 members of the family that he finally lost for good. With that done, he looks over at the Batmobile. "He never did let me drive the car." He nods, moving towards it. "Car, show me the locations of the Bat family in Gotham other than me." The screen flashes, showing 8 members within the city. "How many heartbeats?" Jason asks. 2 appear, and Jason looks up, seeing Ace stare at him with his head to the side. "Well, are you getting in?" The dog leaps forward, jumping into the passenger seat. "Good dog." Jason pets him, and the 2 speed out of the cave. Elsewhere, night falls in the city, and Rose Wilson is sitting in her apartment, 2 pistols and a radio at her side. She can hear them in the hall, and the radio suddenly crackles, and the voice of her father comes on the other side. "Rose, I'm coming. It's time to go," he tells her, but she refuses. She can see the future, and she knows that if she goes through that door, they will come in and they will kill her. "Sure, but when you're through mourning your not dead self, go through the window. Take the fire escape to the roof. Bring every weapon that you can. Don't look at any screens." She pauses. "You want me stuck on the roof? You won't be stuck. Go." Moments later, Ravager steps out onto the roof, loaded for war. A ladder descends from a helicopter overhead, and Slade tells her to climb. He looks up, though, seeing a large shape flying towards him. "Don't climb! Don't climb!" he yells at her, and Man-Bat collides with the cockpit, shattering the window. Slade throws his arm up, blocking the monster, letting his teeth sink into his forearm. His pistol goes up, and the cockpit fills with the smell of gunpowder as he empties it into the monster's side. Rose watches as the chopper careens out of control, exploding on the roof in front of her, and she rushes forward as Slade is pulling himself out, growling. "I'm sorry, Dad," she whispers, pulling free her sword, and she twirls, slicing into him. "Ow! What the heck?" he yells. Rose stops. "I don't think the undead say ow or heck," she says. "No! Can you take your sword out of me?" Slade asks her. Quickly, Slade explains that the creatures aren't zombies, and that his healing factor reverses whatever the hell the effect is. "Interesting. He was right about you," a voice calls out, and they both turn, guns drawn. Mirror Master stares at them from one of the fallen helicopter doors. "Don't shoot. It's 7 years bad luck, and I don't want to see what bad luck looks like on top of the undead apocalypse." He quickly tells them the Vandal Savage has sent Mirror Master to gather Slade and his daughter to bring them to safety, in exchange for the protection that your presence would provide. He reaches through the mirror, dropping them some goggles that will protect them from the virus if they look at any screens. They step through the mirror universe where flashes of the destruction that currently rips through the earth can be seen. And finally, they step out into Savage's lair. He introduces them to the others that he has gathered. Solomon Grundy, Creeper, Cheetah, Captain Cold, Lady Shiva, Bane, and Deadshot. Everyone has been selected for a reason. The heroes are going to fail. They're not ruthless enough to survive. We're going to inherit what's left of the planet when this is done, Savage tells him. Meanwhile, back in Gotham City, gunfire fills the halls of the GCPD. Gordon fires his pistol, laying cover for Bullock. "Move! Back to the cells!" Batgirl then leaps out of nowhere, jumping onto the desk, kicking away at more monsters. "We get to the cells, we'll be trapped, Commish!" Bullock yells over the boom of his shotgun. "We'll be trapped, but it buys us time," Jim tells him. Harvey stops. "The bat ain't coming," he tries to tell him, and one of the creatures is then on him, tearing at his flesh. Gordon kills the creature with one shot and then looks down as Bullock begins to change. "Kill me, Jim!" he pleads, and suddenly Batgirl is there snapping Bullock's neck. "Gordon, act now," she tells him. The walls suddenly explode as the Batmobile launches through it, gunfire ripping out, killing the rest of the creatures. Red Hood hops out of the driver's seat. "Not Batman, get in the car," he orders them. And with that, the three of them begin to rumble through the city, with Jason telling Gordon that the current plan is to get out of the city. "We can't leave, not yet. My daughter is still out there," Jim tells him. "No, Jim. I'm sorry, she isn't. Car, show the heart monitor for Barbara Gordon." The screen flashes, showing the flat heartbeat of Barbara Gordon, and Jim is stunned, but also confused. "Why do you have a heart monitor on?" "You're a smart man, a good detective. Batman is dead. You don't have to play his game anymore," Jason tells him, removing his helmet. "Jason Todd," Jim states, looking at him, and then he looks back in the back seat. Cassandra Cain. "Hello," she waves from the back, removing her mask. Bruce Wayne, Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, Damian Wayne, Barbara, are they all? Damian's alive the last time I checked. He's in Metropolis along with Alfred. The rest are all gone. Jason then shows him that they are the only three left in Gotham City, and Jim questions why he would be monitored. Batman was terrible at expressing anything with words, and he had absolutely no consideration when it came to personal boundaries. But he violated your trust and secretly monitored you for a reason. Bruce thought you were family, Jason tells him. Jim asks him to take him to his daughter. Jason doesn't think it's a good idea, but understands the need for closure. The three members of the Bat family lay in an alleyway trapped by vines that hold them in place. Jim cries as he looks at what remains of his daughter. More on later. Move now, Cassandra tells him, lifting him up, brushing away a tear. And a few feet away, Jason looks down at the corpse of the Joker. It should have been me. I should have been the one to kill you, he whispers, pulling out some zip ties, telling them that they can't leave just yet. And with that, the Batmobile is rumbling through the city with Joker's corpse tied to the front bumper. You do realize that this is very screwed up, Jim tells Jason, taking a drink from his flask. It's the apocalypse. Don't judge me. Day 3 of the anti-life virus. Jason is looking through his binoculars, staring at the mass of undead that seem to be surrounding a building in the city. It's Bloodhaven, so an undead virus is almost an improvement, he tells them. Survivors trapped inside, Cassandra tells him, when Jason informs them about the mass of undead. We can't just keep driving. We need to find somewhere remote to hide, he offers. No, we can't, Gordon tells him. No, we can't, Jason agrees. So they hop back into the Batmobile, ordering it to disable all non-lethal safety protocols. Rockets flare out, exploding, taking out large masses of creatures in a single blow. And the Batmobile rumbles through them, cutting down others beneath its tires. The car then picks up a signal for the garage, opening it and giving them a way inside. Once they get in though, they step out and they're confronted by a group of children. "Hands where I can see them! Leave any screens in the car!" the girl orders them. "It's alright, we're the good guys," Jason tells them. And behind him, Gordon whispers that they might want to remove the corpse of the psychotic clown from the front of the car. Good idea. They introduce themselves and the girl leads them through the orphanage, and they discover that most of the adults fled and the ones who didn't, well, they're locked in the gym, she tells them, pointing at the wooden doors that creak as something is pushing against it from the other side. Metal is wrapped around the handles, locking the monsters in, and she tells them that a superhero locked them in and sealed the doors. Then she went away, and she never came back. Are you going to go away? The three look at each other, and Cassandra gets a look of determination on her face. This is a good fight, she tells them. It's as good a place as any if we're not going to go anywhere. Jim nods. So Jason steps forward, shaking the girl who seems to be the leader's hand. We'll get you through this. Orphans gotta stick together. It's been 3 weeks since Gordon, Jason, and Cassandra have taken up residence with the kids locked into the orphanage. 3 weeks of monsters swarming outside the walls. We have to do something, Gordon. It's time to talk about the undead elephant in the room, Jason tells the former commissioner as they both stand outside the locked doors within the building, the sound of trapped undead rattling against the strong wood. The infected are no threat while they're in there, Jim tells him. He refuses to kill the caregivers and the children that were locked inside, those that didn't make it in the orphanage. Cassandra interrupts them, stating only a few words. Jim, the radio. The three go into another room when they hear Lois Lane's broadcast. The survivors of Earth are leaving, boarding 2 different ships. One of them is located in Themyscira, the other is in Poison Ivy's jungle in Gotham. Gordon reaches out, turning the radio off mid-broadcast. No, he says simply, but Jason's confused. Gordon, a jungle in Gotham? We could make it, Cassandra offers, and Gordon nods, leading the young heroes into the other room where the children are playing. But there's no way for the 3 of us to get all of these children to another city. We stay here, and we say nothing. Meanwhile, over at Vandal Savage's fortress on Ball's Pyramid, Mirror Master comes out telling Lady Shiva what he has found. Take me to her, Mirror Master, she demands. In the orphanage, Cassandra suddenly drops to her knees, pulling free a battering as she hears her name called. Mother? She asks and stares at Lady Shiva. We have somewhere safe, she orders, turning away, but Cassandra refuses, leading her mother into the orphanage. Kids come too, she tells her, indicating at the sleeping children that she has been protecting. But Shiva refuses, telling them they don't have room. Then I stay, Cassandra simply states. Don't be stupid. The world is ending. You don't have to deal with it. Come with me, Shiva tells her, growing angry. The 2 women drop into combat stances as Mirror Master tries to talk some sense into them. They launch at each other, trading blows, and each attack is blocked. Cassandra leaps into the air, avoiding another hit. But Shiva gets through her defenses, dropping her to the floor with a swift jab to the jaw. It's at that moment that Jason is suddenly there, grabbing Shiva's fist, stomping her. She turns, kicking him hard into the face, knocking him to the ground in a spray of blood. Okay, Gordon tells her, pulling back the hammer on his revolver with a loud click. That's enough of that. Shiva looks around at the group, telling her daughter that she offered her a chance since she was family. You could stay, Cassandra tells her, and Lady Shiva looks at her for a moment before turning back to the mirror. Goodbye, daughter, she says, disappearing. Goodbye, Mom, Cassandra whispers. At their fortress, Savage demands to know where Lady Shiva and Mirror Master had gone. I found my daughter, she tells him simply. Savage grows angry, telling her that what they're doing is about survival. He reaches out, grabbing her by the arm, and Slade steps in, trying to calm the immortal down. You are not in charge here, Slade. Savage growls at him, and Slade nods, stepping forward. You brought the volatile group of killers under one roof. We're tense and worse, we're bored. Best not to piss each other off. We're not going to outlive the apocalypse if we kill each other. Savage suddenly grows calm, nodding. He apologizes to Slade and to Shiva for his behavior, and the rest of the group moves away. Savage turns to Slade, asking if he could speak with him privately for a moment. I'm not sure that's a good idea, Rose whispers to her father. Slade nods, moving down the fortress tunnel. I should have brought you in on this earlier, Savage tells the assassin, and the 2 step through the doorway, revealing the creeper strapped to a table. His chest is now cut open, revealing the organs within. Nearby, Solomon Grundy stands with a scalpel. Oh hey! Creeper says cheerfully. Slade is shocked, unable to react quick enough as Savage pushes him forward, ordering Grundy to take him. The creature's massive fist connects to the side of Slade's face, dropping him. He wakes up later, strapped to the table next to the Creeper. You got betrayed too, huh? Gotta say, did not see that coming. Slade is still groggy, his words slurred. You needed me, he gasps. Savage nods, washing his hands. You're both immune to the anti-life virus. I'm going to pull you apart and find out how. Suddenly, a blade pierces Savage's chest, blood splattering against the wall. Don't you double-cross someone who can see the future, Rose snarls, pushing the blade deeper into Savage's back. She moves across the room, working to free her father. Next, she frees Creeper as the two of them make their way out of the room. Creeper, can you move? Oh, sure. It's not like this is the first time someone's cracked open my chest and poked at my internal organs. Something about this face just invites a vivisection. He smiles at her. Grundy crosses the room, pulling the sword free of Savage's back, but Rose suddenly stops, fear on her face. Run! She screams, Savage stopping, demanding to know what's coming. What do you see? I wouldn't want to spoil the surprise, she tells him, dragging her father out of the room. I've lived for 53,000 years. I'm rarely surprised. Savage scoffs when suddenly the entire fortress shakes and the wall behind him explodes inward with a loud boom. Vandal Savage looks up to see the bloody face of Wonder Woman, taken by the anti-life virus. She moves fast, ripping him in half, spraying his immortal blood around the room. Grundy leaps forward, screaming as he attacks Wonder Woman. Outside, Rose orders Mirror Master to get them out of there, but before anyone can react, Grundy comes flying through the wall, followed by Wonder Woman. Everyone turns their weapons on her, the room filling with the sound of gunfire and smoke. Captain Cold turns his cold gun on her, blasting her with ice. I'll slow her down. Go, McCullen, get them out, he screams at the Mirror Master. The villains all begin to escape out the mirror. I'll come back for you, Mirror Master yells at his friend. Damn straight you will. The others appear in the orphanage, bringing a scream of fear from a young boy who comes face to face with Grundy. He falls back, crawling away as the Creeper tries to comfort him. It's okay, he's not a zombie. I mean, well, he is a zombie, but he's our zombie, the maniac tells the boy. With the others through, Mirror Master heads back through the mirror, hoping to grab Snart. He appears in the icy chamber, staring only at Wonder Woman. Ah, crap, he whispers. Captain Cold grabs him from behind, biting hard into the man's neck, cutting off his scream. Back at the orphanage, Cassandra rushes down the hallway, brought by the boy's scream. You came back? She asks, staring at her mother. But Gordon is there too, aiming his revolver at Bane. And you brought murderers, psychopaths, and monsters. Some of us are all three in a convenient package. The Creeper laughs. Jason steps forward, his own weapons pointed at the villain's face, surprised to find Rose among them. What are you doing here? This is a story, probably not one for little ears. Let's talk privately, Jason, she tells him, before turning back to the mirror. We're just waiting for one. She stares in the mirror for a minute, but finally Slade tells her, they're not coming. In the kitchen, Rose finishes explaining how Wonder Woman attacked them. Feeling that possibly the anti-life virus can sense life, Jason nods. It would explain the unhealthy buildup of blighted ones surrounding the walls outside. He nods. Slade agrees, telling him that they need to prepare in case more superpowered zombies show up. Slade offers the idea that they start training the children to fight and defend themselves. They're innocent children, Gordon yells, but Bane merely shakes his head. No one gets to be innocent now, he tells the former cop. You can't protect them from this, Gordon. Jim grows angry, yelling at them all, and finally Slade sighs, asking everyone to give him and Gordon the room, alone. Slade admits to Gordon that he lost one of his sons. It was the most difficult thing that could have happened to him. We're not going to protect these kids by pretending the monsters aren't out there. We need to prepare them. This isn't an ideal situation for anyone, but I'm a practical man. I don't want to lead this room, and Bane will step in if you don't, he tells him, and finally Jim agrees and the two exit the room, finding the waiting group. Jim rubs his eyes, still unhappy. I don't like this situation, but we'll make the best of it. Despite your crimes, you're all welcome here. But abuse that hospitality, and you'll be sent to fend for yourself outside these walls. And finally he looks up, determination on his face. Tomorrow you meet the kids, and we start to prepare. Rose nods, finally stating that she has one question. What's behind those doors? She says, pointing at the sealed room. The ones who didn't make it. Gordon tells her, and the group begin to argue, telling the commissioner that it's insane to allow the deceased within the building. Gordon tries to argue, but finally Slade steps in. Go to the kids, make up an excuse for the noise. If you don't have the stomach for what's about to happen, let us take care of this for you. Cassandra and Jim leave, but Jason stays behind, making sure his pistols are loaded. Grundy opens the doors and the group level their weapons. My God, Jason whispers, and Rose questions him, but he merely points at the young boy. I know that kid. His name's Billy Batson. He was, it doesn't matter. The halls echo with the sound of gunfire, and so it began. The next day, the children met their roommates, and they began to train. Lady Shiva taught them hand-to-hand combat. Deadshot taught them marksmanship, teaching them how to cave in skulls with a slingshot. Professor Creeper taught them the art of saying witty things when beheading the undead. There were hiccups as Bane tried to teach the children why humanity was its own downfall. I really can't hear you through the mask. You're all muffled, one child tried to explain. And throughout it all, the new group grew close, becoming family. Playing with Grundy, Jason, and Rose tour the building, laughing at the children petting Cheetah. I have to admit, this is going far better than I was expecting, he admits. And in the gym, they find Slade yelling at some of the children, pushing them to push themselves. You don't have to be so hard, Jason tells him as the child runs away. Of course you'd say that. Batman was too soft, Slade tells him. Jason, shocked, almost stunned. Batman, what? Are we talking about the same Batman? Violet scowl, pointy ears? He asks, and Rose yells at her father before he looks at them both. You do a thing? He finally asks. You should be. Not a lot of happiness out there. Find it where you can. We're all probably gonna die screaming, he tells them. The two head outside, taking cover in the rain. They laugh, trading childhood trauma stories, when suddenly Rose stops as a view of the future fills her mind. You're about to try and kiss me, she tells him with a smile. Well, take all the fun out of it, he tells her, leaning in, but she just smiles. It doesn't. Inside, Bane is patrolling down the hallway when he finds a growling face. Leaning down, he tries to quiet the dog, not seeing the head poke through the mirror behind him. Outside, Jason and Rose pull from their embrace, hearing the sound of screaming and gunfire coming from within. They rush inside to find Gordon and Deadshot huddled with a group of children, guns all trained around them. He's in the mirror, Gordon hisses at them. A hand reaches through one of the glasses, pulling a child with it. Deadshot rushes forward, snapping the arm, freeing the kid. But Mirror Master pushes through, grabbing Lawton, pulling him through. Gordon fires, shattering the mirror, slicing off Deadshot's leg as the portal closes. Cassandra comes into the room holding her shoulder, and she looks at the group in shock, explaining that Bane was turned. He ran right through me. He didn't stop, she explains. Where is he going? Outside. And outside, Bane rips apart the wall, allowing the host of undead to flood within the safe haven. The anti-life equation has improved its odds. Bane rushes forward, the anti-life equation having taken everything from him. Behind him, a wall of the Blighted Ones are following his lead, and Gordon and Deathstroke tell everyone to get inside as the dead draw near. But Grundy is there, leaping through the air, stopping Bane's assaults. Bane was strong, but Grundy, he was something else. Bane, nowhere, children! Grundy bellows, tearing Bane's head clean off his body. He launches it across the yard, destroying another of the Blighted One's heads with it. And from inside, Creeper laughs. Oh wow, that is the first headbutt I've ever seen without a body behind it. The moment doesn't last long though, as the undead begin to bog down Grundy, and he yells for the others to run, but the children refuse. Hey, get off our Uncle Grundy, Lolita yells, hefting her bat. They've been training for months with the heroes and villains, and they are ready for this. The kids launch their attack, but Slade and Gordon are there, pulling them away, firing their weapons. Damn it, kids! Fall back, Gordon yells. Don't risk your life for a dead man, Slade agrees, and Creeper launches himself over their heads, pulling the big zombie from the grasp of the undead. Come here, you big, caring dead man. You can't die on Monday. It would ruin your whole poem, Creeper tells his friend, and he pulls him away, telling Grundy that the tree lobsters have to stay together. Grundy looks back at him. Tree lobsters. They continue to fight through the corridors, their weapons thundering in the closed space, and finally Gordon tells them that they all have to make it to the buses. We have to get them to the Gotham Garden, the one run by Ivy and Harley, Gordon tells them, but Jason doesn't think that's a good plan. All the heroes left, Jim. You honestly think the Sanctuary's still there? He asks him, continuing to fire his weapon. Jim nods as he reloads. Do you have another option? Moments later, the door to the garage explodes open and the Batmobile races into the waiting undead. The worst road trip of all time has begun. The two buses charge after them, mowing down the anti-life zombies along the way. Rain splattering against the hood as the three vehicles begin the 33-minute drive from Bloodhaven to Gotham City. They charge down the road, the Batmobile clearing a path through the undead in the abandoned cars. They were having a good time, until Slade looked up at the mirror on the bus. What's that? He mutters, seeing the ripples in the mirror's surface, and Mirror Master jumps through the rearview mirror, his claws slashing at Slade's chest. The assassin screams in pain, falling to the floor as the bus careens out of control. Gordon grabs the wheel as Slade's healing factor begins to kick in, and he stands, turning back to the frightened kids. "Knock out the windows!" he shouts to them, but it's too late. Mirror Master appears again and again, pulling the kids with him through the reflections of the window. Grundy and the kids try to stop him, but the undead are too fast. Mirror Master comes through again, his hands grasping onto the hair of Matilda, Cheetah's favorite. And she launches herself across the bus, her fist punching through Mirror Master's head. "You don't get to take this one!" she snarls as the former rogue dies. Matilda smiles, petting Cheetah on the head. "Good kitty," she smiles, and Cheetah turns, glaring at the rest of the people on the bus. "Only she gets to call me that!" The Batmobile checks in and Jim tells the others that they've lost some of the kids, but they have little time to mourn them as they arrive at the Gotham Gardens. The city is packed with the undead, their bloody hands clawing at the forest walls of the sanctuary. Jason speeds up in the Batmobile, running through the crowds of the undead, when suddenly an alarm begins to beep and Rose asks if that's a good thing. Yeah, Batman would never install a good alarm, Jason tells her, and a screen pops up as he tells her something is coming in low and fast, and Rose's one good eye goes wide. "Jason, I can see the future, and I know what's coming," she gasps, yelling at Jason, "Buckle your seatbelt!" The object slams into the front of the Batmobile, flipping it into the air, landing it with a loud crunch, flattening more of the undead in the process. And from the smoking crater, Wonder Woman stands. The super-powered death has arrived. The first bus stops, and Cheetah doesn't wait. She charges at the Amazon, hissing, "Kick her princess ass!" Matilda cheers from the door, and the villain slams into Wonder Woman, her arch nemesis, but things have changed. The one that was the villain is now the hero, and the hero is now the villain. Slashing at her with their claws, Cheetah begins to win out over Wonder Woman, and inside of the bus, everyone watches. But Slade quickly realizes, Cheetah can't stop the Amazon by herself, and Creeper nods next to him. "All right, I guess I'm taking on an undead goddess," he jokes, cracking his knuckles. But he's stopped by Grundy's hand on his shoulder. "Not myself. Tree lobsters," the big man tells him softly. They shake hands and they launch themselves into the fight. Cheetah grabbing Wonder Woman and allowing Creeper to kick her hard in the face before Grundy backhands her. They were strong. They wouldn't be able to stand against her forever. Back on the bus, Slade orders Gordon to take all of the kids to the second bus, telling Gordon that he has to go after his daughter. "I'm going to clear the path for the rest of you and get Rose. She might not like me much, but that's my fault," he tells the police commissioner, and Jim just tells him that he's going to. "That's Batman's son out there, and you might need help with your little girl. We've lost enough kids, Slade." They radio their plan to Lady Shiva, who's driving the second bus, and she curses at them, telling them not to risk their lives for one person. And then she yells for her daughter, Orphan, who is ordering the other kids on the bus. As the last child gets on board, Shiva takes off, but Cassandra Cain is pulled free of the doors by the undead, bringing screams from the children inside. "Stay on the bus!" Sheeta orders them as they stand, ordering the oldest to drive. She draws her sword, leaping outside to join her daughter in battle. Cassandra doesn't understand why her mother would do what she just told Slade not to. Why would she sacrifice herself to save her? "Don't make a big deal out of it. Just accept that I love you and shut up," Shiva tells her, her sword cleaving through the mass of the undead that threatens to overwhelm them. Batgirl kicks another in the face, ordering her mother to head back to the bus, and they manage to jump on board. But at the last second, an undead reaches out, slashing Shiva in the back. She whirls, slashing its head off of its body. "It's over, Cassandra," she tells her daughter as she turns back, her hand trying to hold in the blood from the wound. Tears fill Cassandra's eyes as she tells her mother that she'll take care of her, but Shiva shakes her head, telling her, "A daughter shouldn't have to. You're the only person that I admire," Shiva tells her daughter one last time. Lady Shiva had the deadliest hands on the planet, and with her dying breath, she uses those hands to rip out her own heart. The children watch as the body tumbles off the bus. At the crash site, Gordon finds Jason hanging unconscious while Rose is trying to get herself free. "You okay?" He asks. Jason's out cold and a few integral bits of my body are broken, she tells him. Outside, Slade's guns are thundering, killing swarms of the undead, and he orders them to get on the bus while he keeps firing. But suddenly, Grundy comes flying through the air, destroying the bus in one blast. Our bus just folded in half and we can't make it to the next one, Gordon tells them. But Slade shakes his head as he reloads. Yeah, you can. I'll keep them off you, he tells them. There's a brief lull and Slade pulls Jason in close. Jason, I like you. Rose can glimpse into the future, so don't even think about hurting her, or she'll probably kill you. Jason nods. I'll remember. Slade turns away, yelling for them to keep going as he keeps firing. Rose calling for her father, asking if he'll be behind them. That is definitely the plan, but in case I'm not, if you survive the apocalypse, build something out of this mess, okay? He tells her. She reaches out, hugging her father for one last time. Slade hugs back, continuing to fire one-handed into the crowd of the undead, and the fight continues, with Wonder Woman squeezing the life out of Cheetah, literally grabbing her by the throat and just squeezing it until she stops breathing. And then she tears Creeper's head off of his body and slams her fist through Grunty. No day, kids! He gasps as the undead begin to feast on him. And as Rose looks back from the moving bus, she watches as her father fights against the monsters. His guns are empty, but his sword slashes into the rain. And at a brief moment, he was untouchable, unkillable. Wonder Woman then flies through him, his body exploding, and Deathstroke was gone. She slams into the front of the bus, lifting it high into the air, high enough that she throws it back to the earth, and everyone inside is screaming in fear as they careen to their death. And inside, Mary's eyes go wide. She knows what she needs to do. Shazam! She screams, with lightning cracking across the sky. She flies upwards, lifting the bus up from the inside, gently placing it onto the ground. The kids are shocked. I'll explain later. Just keep driving. Get to the garden. I'm heading out there, she tells them. And she flies out into the storm, launching herself at Wonder Woman. She knows that a few months ago, she could never have held her own against Wonder Woman. But that was before she had 3 months to train with Cassandra Cain. Wonder Woman lashes out, but Mary grabs her fists, snapping them, before punching Wonder Woman hard back down to the earth. The earth shudders from the blow, and a massive crater forms beneath Wonder Woman's body. Mary flies down, lifting the bus off of the ground, flying the last few feet into the garden. And inside, Gordon and Rose watch as the leafy gates open before them, letting them inside. Everyone gets off of the bus, with Gordon reloading his revolver. Get ready. Wonder Woman will be coming. No, she won't. She can't breach the garden. Poison Ivy tells them from her place atop a massive tree throne. The crowd turns, seeing the others before them. It's magically protected against her and all of her kind, Dr. Fate tells them. Welcome to the post-apocalyptic Eden, Zatanna greets them. It's pretty if you can ignore all the dead scraping at the walls, Constantine adds, taking a drag from his cigarette. Ivy welcomes them, telling the children that they are safe here, and Harley just laughs, happy to have some children to corrupt. You're too late, Harley, Jason tells her. These ones come pre-corrupted, Rose adds with a smile. Though they are safe, sadness passes with the face of the children as they remember those that gave their lives to get them to safety. And time passes, and they erect a statue of the so-called villains that gave their lives to protect a group of strangers. They were villains, saviors, families, tree lobsters. And there you have it, the full story of DCeased Unkillables. Now this storyline isn't done. I'm gonna link you DCeased, the original storyline down below, and then we also have Hope at World's End happening as we speak. Subscribe to the channel as the next chapter of that is coming out on Wednesday most likely, and I hope to see you here. Otherwise, give this video a like, and don't forget you get early access to our videos if you go on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/Comicstorian.